Hey everyone! I thought it would be a fun thing to do to rank my favorite kinds of breaths. Number 1. Normal breaths. Number 2. Deep breaths. Number 3. The breaths I take when I watch Ultraman Gaia. I'm gonna come straight out of the gate here and say Ultraman Gaia is in my top 3 favorite Ultraman series. Now the details of why I love Gaia can be shared for another day, but one of the reasons is definitely its setting and tone. Ultraman Gaia is set in another universe, separate from the Showa-verse, and the Neo-Frontier universe of its predecessors. Ultraman Gaia and Agul were also giants of light born from the Earth itself, unlike the earlier giants being aliens. Therefore, with a new setting, an entirely new slate of kaiju and aliens had to be conceived. In this series, the Global Defense Organization GUARD and its subunit XIG, or SHIG, have to battle the threat of the Radical Destruction Bringer, the universal mastermind hell-bent on bringing ruin to humanity. As per usual Ultra series, Ultraman Gaia has a slate of monsters from Earth, space, and aliens as well. Monsters are also usually sent by the Radical Destruction Bringer from space. Ultraman Gaia's kaiju gallery is diverse. We've got Earth-native monsters not unlike animals that live on Earth, nature-control machines sent by the Destruction Bringer to reform the Earth to its liking, direct minions of the Destruction Bringer like Zogu and Gakuzom, and experimented beings as well. Being a departure in universe, Gaia's kaiju designs did feel different from those of the Neo-Frontier kaijus in my opinion, yet they do still have that distinct early Heisei feel, like the mouth shapes and the glowing pupilless eyes. I feel that the names of the kaiju of this series tends to be the weirdest too. You have names like Pazigik, Blitzblots, Wolfgas, X-Savarga, and more. I think this likely comes from the series composer Chiaki J. Konaka being a Cthulhu mythos writer. However, it is human nature to want to see things in an objective manner, to give rankings to things, to see where we lie in the social mobility ladder. In order to satisfy my ranking thirst, I've decided to commission a little multimedia company. Hi! Welcome to Meek's Top 10 Ultraman Gaia Kaiju Ranking. Before we begin, let me say that this ranking is based on factors such as design, concept, memorability, creativity, and most importantly, personal bias. Before we get into the big stuff, here's a warning that there will be unfiltered spoilers for the series Ultraman Gaia from here on out. And do keep in mind that this is just my opinion, of course. That said, at number 10, we have Sigma Zoigul. Sigma Zoigul is a robot sent by the Destruction Bringer to capture Gamu, the host of Ultraman Gaia. This guy definitely had the benefit of appearing in one of the most memorable episodes in the show, that being the return of Ultraman Agul. It has a unique design for a robot kaiju, its long appendage running down its back, its wings, and that it's generally shaped like a cross. And if it's one thing that the Ultra series can't get enough of, it's crucifixion. A solid kaiju in a great episode with an uncanny design to boot. The next one on this list is a joint one because I don't think it's right to separate them after all they've been through. Crabgun and Animos. Crabgun is a crayfish-like creature while Animos is an anemone, and both of them were from the Cambrian period, growing large in the span of 500 million years. Together, they can form a symbiotic relationship, capable of zombifying other creatures and may have even had the ability to dominate the Earth. A symbiotic creature is a really cool concept, solidifying these kaijus as more than just big guys for Ultraman to pulverize. It's always interesting when the series does this real spin on creatures' behaviors. An earlier example of this would be Gudon and Twin Tails' predator-prey relationship. Anyway, Animos' design as a moving tube anemone already warrants a lot of points from me. At number 8 is the metal organism Mimos. Mimos, originally Crisis Ghost, was a computer virus that infected Fujimiya's supercomputer Crisis. It later managed to retrieve the remains of Algurios and Apathy to form a physical body of its own. Its very concept as a berserk computer virus which nearly doomed the Ariel base was intriguing. Mimos is probably most known for being an imitation Ultraman Gaia. This episode takes place right at the start of the second half of the series, so Gaia is now in version 2. I think that using Gaia's V1 suit again as Mimos' facade was a cool gesture of the transition between the two halves of the season. On its own, its design is alright, but what cinches it for me is the mid-transformation look. I'm just a sucker for these corrupted kind of designs. Tigris is my pick for number 7. It is a guardian of the earth, similar to Mizuno and Ryu and Jill, although Tigris shows up quite late into the series. Similar to Sigma Zoigul, Tigris features in a profound episode. Nuclear testing has horribly injured Tigris, and when it does emerge, Guard attempts to take it out. but eventually Shig and Gaia can't stomach killing it off, seeing as it was already on its last legs and its insides were spewing out. It's horrific. Its second reincarnation showed up to fight against Blitzbloods later and made Shig realize the Earth monsters were also fighting to protect their planet. Of course, it also appeared in the final battle against Zogu along with the other monsters of the Earth. Tigris is my favorite of the Earth Guardians. He's especially sympathetic and his design is quite inspired. Now interrupting your scheduled Gaia Kaiju ranking with the scheduled honorable mentions for Kaiju that didn't make the list. Alguros is a metal organism sent to the Earth and is an upgrade from an earlier metal organism Apathy. I like Imitation Ultraman and Alguros is host to one of the most famous scenes from the show, this smile. Shazak is a peaceful Earth native kaiju from Canada, but Guard America deemed it a threat. It was the stuff of legends in universe, and it's always nice to see these situations unfold in a place outside of Japan for a change. Oh, and Gaia spares Shazak so you can be relieved now. The Mezards, Psycho Mezard, Queen Mezard, are a recurring species that has the power to brainwash humans. They're all really good designs and downright creepy episodes. And back to our top 10 list, at number 6, COV, or COV. First of all, it has a really cool name. COV stands for Cosmic Organism Vanguard, and an equally cool subtitle, Space Combat Beast. On the surface level, there isn't much to not like already. COV was the first kaiju of the show, and its species appeared frequently in the show, as COV2, Baby COVs, and Super COV. Its design just blends together well, all of its variants included. Although COV2 does look sleek and Super COV is the best looking in my opinion. As the first kaiju, it quite easily stands as one of the most memorable in the era, maybe only beaten by Golza and Melba from Ultraman Tiga. It hails from M91 and is transported to Earth through wormholes by the Radical Destruction Bringer. However, it was later revealed that these guys were sent to Earth against their will and had only rampaged in their confusion. Now this sheds a whole new light on them in that they're actually peaceful creatures, but all of a sudden get sent to a whole new place. It makes sense that they're scared and panicking around. It really makes you feel for these guys and amplifies the Radical Destruction Bringer as this all-evil entity. At number 5, we have King of Mons. This monster is the main kaiju in Gaia's movie, The Battle in Hyperspace. The film centers around a red orb which is able to grant wishes. This orb's power is what brought Gamo to an alternate universe and brought King of Mons into existence. In this universe, Ultraman is just a TV show by the way. It is a kaiju designed by a young boy, which looks way too good of a design to be made by a kid, and the designing concept is definitely a concept that many kids may find relatable, and showing the clay designs encourages children to craft their own creations too. The concept of two other monsters, that being Bajiris and Skilla, coming out of it is really cool, them being creations as well, and of course that paved the way for Ultraman Dyna and Ultraman Tiga to have their own opponents. As a movie monster, King of Mons has a bit of an edge when it comes to popularity and memorability. Next at number 4 is Mokian. Chiaki J. Konaka is just great at crazy things like this. Mokian is a creature that heralded the coming of Shinigami, who itself was a messenger of the Radical Destruction Bringer. It has a monopole magnet and will crash into the Earth and use it to destroy the Earth by bringing its landmass together with said monopole magnet. This thing is huge! It's 333 meters in size, and it's just such a crazy but superbly interesting idea to make a kaiju like this. It's not just its size, but its uncanny design that looks like it may or may not be a living creature, and not to mention its eye in its mouth. Mokian is a kaiju from the final stretch of the show. While the final arc sort of began in episode 44, Mokian's appearance elevated the stakes higher again after powerful enemies Super Pazuzu, Super Cov, and Blitzbloods. Mokian also benefited from being in a terrific episode in which tensions were high. The episode itself was titled Shig Destroyed. Mokian met its demise in a spectacular sacrifice by Shig Commander Ishimuro, who crashed the aerial base into Mokian. Absolutely splendid. Before we get to the top 3 kaiju, we'll go over more honorable mentions, which also takes these guys out of the running for the top 3. Firstly, the nature control machines Tenkai, Enzan, and Shinryoku. These guys were sent to reform the Earth in their respective ways. As cosmic machines, they're pretty cool, but for me they're not individually memorable. Antimatter, a kaiju that doubled down on the show's focus of scientific concepts. A genuinely odd kaiju shaped like a starfish and could potentially cause huge devastation if defeated conventionally due to the nature of antimatter and matter. Tsuchikera, a human turned into a pitiful abomination due to nuclear experimentation during World War II, only able to be calmed down by hearing his child's voices. The episode is too much of a tearjerker to not include here one way or another, and is most definitely a homage to a similar kaiju, Jamila from the original Ultraman. And Zorlim, the big villain of the first half of the show. It was summoned by the Radical Destruction Bringer. It is huge as well, as Gaia could stand in its mouth and was involved in an amazing story arc, but in itself, Zorlim did not really do anything, is quite bland, and is just a big dragon head in the sky. Now back to the ranking. Proudly at number 3, Blitzblots. Blitzblots is once again a servant of the Radical Destruction Bringer. It was getting irritated that humanity wouldn't surrender, so it sent its powerful force, Blitzblots. I hate this kaiju. It may be because it's a very competent and intelligent kaiju. Upon appearance, it immediately and totally defeats Agul, and then aims for strategic facilities on Earth like the Guard Forum and energy facilities. Its skill set also consists of every Ultraman's worst nightmare, energy absorption and aiming for the color timer. Its face pisses me off, if that's even a face. It was plain brutal when defeating Tigris and Agul. After some time I learned that this thing is based on a Tengu from Japanese myth, but on my first watch I had no idea what the heck it's supposed to be. This cocky, strong, freaky birdman thing. Although I can't deny that Blitzblots was the kaiju that made a big impact on me, a perfect threat to kickstart the final arc into high gear, showing the villains were not playing around anymore. The stakes were raised right thanks to its appearance, and boy, it took so many forces to defeat him. Agul, Tigris, and Team Hercules, and finally Ultraman Gaia in Supreme version. Its absorption powers are deadly too, and instead of using Zeton or Bamstar for the millionth time in newer shows to give the Ultraman a challenge, use Blitzblots instead in those newer shows and it would be much appreciated. Blitzblots, to me at least, is a kaiju that I love to hate. At number 2, a root of destruction, the Radical Destruction Angel, Zogu. Zogu is the final enemy of Ultraman Gaia. Contrary to many misconceptions, Zogu is not the Radical Destruction Bringer itself, but its high-ranking servant, one of the roots of destruction. He is this high thanks to its first form, which is menacing as all hell. Angel Zogu towers at 127 meters tall, descending from the somber sky filled with the Dobishis. She defeats the remaining Kaiser Dobishi, then heals both Gaia and Agul back to full strength, only to utterly thrash the two Ultramen until their light disappears. I just love villains which give off the contrary vibe of looking angelic yet are evil. Like Fujimiya himself states, sending an angel to deal the final blow, the Radical Destruction Bringer thinks of itself as a god. Although she does defeat Gaia and Agul easily, she does exhibit some vulnerability to attacks when she was attacked by the Shik Fighter EX. Thus, when Gaia and Agul regain their light, they bombard Angel Zogu non-stop with all they've got until she unleashes her second form, the demon form Zogu. Zogu grew massively to a crazy 666 meters. Gaia and Agul look like flies in comparison. This likely corresponds to the number of the devil. Zogu's second form is good too, but it's like Zogu lost all rationality and was just a mindless huge target instead of the playful devil from the first form, and was defeated by the combined supercharged Photon Stream and Agul Stream. Even if its defeat was a bit swift and Zogu's second form did not live up to the terror of its first form, the struggle against Zogu represents the culmination of everything the series has been building up towards. The Earth monsters defending the planet, the Alchemy Star's role amidst the absence of computer technology, Shik's final mission, even the KCB reporter's scoop, and of course, Gamo and Fujimiya's understanding of their powers and their meaning. Zogu's impact as a series villain goes hand in hand with all of these, and that cannot be undermined. And now for the best Ultraman Gaia Kaiju, in number 1. Who else could it have been? I tried to see if any other enemy could be number 1 on this list for me, but after much thinking, yeah, Gun-Q is absolutely my favorite kaiju from Ultraman Gaia. Now what is Gun-Q? Gun-Q is an irregular existence. It doesn't have any physical signs, defying the laws of physics as said by Gamu. Later on, it was revealed that Gun-Q is a black magic creation by ancient sorcerer Kijiro Mato. The more I think about it, the weirder Gun-Q is. When you think about him, an eyeball on legs, which laughs like a child. Its first appearance as simply an eye in the ground was already unsettling, and as an antagonist, challenges Gamu's line of thinking as a logical man of science. In its next appearance, it appears as a deformed version of itself, and I'd describe it as a walking, living creepypasta. You do not want to meet this thing in an alley at night. It also becomes Code O2 proper later, but with more veins on its body, now more disgusting than it was ever before. Its design concept is just so brilliant, it's creepy, yet it's based on such a simple idea. Eyes. Even its name is a pun on the Japanese word for eye, Gankyu. We definitely had some weird uncanny monsters before, like Bolton, Prisma, Dinosaur Tank, Mericula and more, but there's a certain beauty in Gankyu as a kaiju that goes beyond just being weird for the heck of it and into an absolute modern classic kaiju. And it's not just because of its unorthodox design that puts him at number 1 spot on this list, but to me, Gankyu also represents the scientific tone of the series in the way that it challenges its grounded setting, both as an unexplainable kaiju and as a creature born of black magic. Not only that, but in my opinion, Gankyu represents the early Heisei era of Ultraman, its experimentation, finding its own identity of the Showa era, and the long hiatus. There's a reason that Gankyu is the breakout kaiju from the series, and I'd go so far as to say that it is possibly the most recognizable kaiju from all of the Heisei era Ultra shows. If any kaiju were to be associated with Gaia, it will always be Gankyu. That said, the show has so many great kaiju designs, it was really hard to just narrow it down to top 10 and a couple of honorable mentions. If anyone hasn't watched the show yet, do give it a go. It's an experience definitely worth going through. I'd like to know your opinions as well on which kaiju you think are the best from this series, so do let me know. And there you have it, Meek's top 10 Ultraman Gaia kaiju. Pretty wild ride, huh? What the heck was that?